Well, we've reached the deadline for the debate stage, and the analysis is out, at least based on Politico. I'm going by Politico. That's somewhat of the centrist mainstream area of these things. Political analysis has the 20 Democrats that are going to be on the debate stage. One person is out. There is one person that is going to be on that debate stage that was not on the last debate stage. It will not, however, be Mike Gravel. Welcome to the Soapbox. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, if you enjoy this content, you find yourself coming back to this channel often, please consider supporting this content through PayPal or Patreon. Many of these videos get demonetized. YouTube is an untrustworthy actor in this process. That last video got copyright strike. But I say that even $1 helps. Let's get to the news itself. So, the debate stage. So, as you know, there was a strong push for Mike Gravel to get on that debate stage. And at the last minute, Gravel was able to get the number of unique donations that was necessary to be on stage. I, myself, did a video pushing for him to be on that debate stage because I made the argument that the more lefties that are on that debate stage, the better. The more people that are espousing a particular point of view on a particular topic makes it seem less radical. It makes you seem like you're less an outlier. The more people you have talking about a particular issue. It just looks, it's optics. It's politics after all. It's a debate stage where you have a national audience that's looking at you, and that beyond campaign ads and everything else, they're looking at you, and they're looking at you in comparison to the other people on the stage. I want as many people as possible making the anti-war perspective and hitting at and getting able to talk to and push down some of the neocon perspectives, because that is not something that you typically get in the normal run-of-the-mill, day-to-day news cycle. You get it on a debate stage. Whether Gravel was actually trying to be president or not did not matter to me. Whether Tulsi Gabbard actually is going to win does not matter to me. I want her on the stage. I want Gravel on the stage. I want Sanders on the stage. They asked Gravel, why was he running? They asked him why was he running. And his answer, and before I get to why he was running, on the day that he hit his announcement, they put out this. Eardrum. He turned his campaign over to like these millennials who ran an awesome campaign. But they got their donations. He missed it by one seat. If you remember, one Democrat went out the race. I think it was Swalwell. The person who was able to get into his seat was Bullock. Even though Gravel hit the number of unique donations that was necessary, he missed it based on, I think, a polling thing. Apparently, Bullock won it just based on other factors other than just the unique donations, because Bullock also had the number of unique donations. So at that point, it was like a secondary factor that they were using to make the determination who's going to get on the debate stage. Let me be specific, however. 20 candidates have qualified for 2 nights of debates in Detroit in July 30th and 31st, according to Politico's analysis, including Montana Governor Steve Bullock, who missed the first debates in June but was vaulted onto the debate stage after Swalwell campaign ended. Mike Gravel, the former Alaska senator, also accrued the requisite number of donors to qualify for the debates, but Bullock has the tiebreaker for the 20th and final slot: support and more public polls. That hurts. Because when he hit his unique donations, the notion was, all right, he got over the cliff. He got where he needed to go. Yeah, he got over the cliff. He got where he needed to go. And then finally it's this thing of, well, wait, there's one more weird oddity in this, because you have all of these other show candidates. And I know show candidates' perspective, but still, it hurts. It bothers me. I don't like it. All right, so let's go for the people who are going to be on the debate stage. We have, and I'm going to call them out. Michael Bennet, Joe Biden, Cory Booker, Bullock, Pete Buttigieg, Julian Castro, Bill de Blasio, apparently the most unliked man in the Democratic primary, John Delaney, Tulsi Gabbard, Christian Gillibrand, Kamala Harris, John Hickenlooper, Jay Inslee, Amy Klobuchar, who's apparently very mean and evil to her people in her office, Beto O'Rourke, who at this point doesn't even have a campaign, Tim Ryan, Bernie, Field of Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Marianne Williamson, Oprah Winfrey's spiritual guru, and the mighty Andrew Yang. Those are the candidates who are set to be on that debate stage. They asked Mike Gravel, why did you get into a presidential race when you didn't want to be president? And his point basically was, I need to go to war with the party to which I find myself. Because this party has gotten to the point where it is staunchly pro-war, even more so than the Republican Party, which is astonishing. But that transformation has taken place. His point is, I needed to go to war with my own party. I wanted to put that on a debate stage. I wanted that to be one of the items that needed to be talked about. He went further. He was like, this notion that Russia is trying to invade Europe is nonsense. These guys are trading partners at this point. Vladimir Putin is a capitalist. This is not the Russian Revolution. And, I have to be honest. I look at the world through a certain framework. I was born in this country. I have, certain things that are put into me, whether I want those things in me or not, just like I would imagine there's other people. And I ask those questions of if the United States pulls back, will other people go further? But he pushes further into this. He says, look, I turn over all of our military bases, give it to the United Nations. Now, that's where the lefty enemy stops and it's like, whoa. Because if the United States, if there's a problem with the U.S. having its military, is there not a problem with the United Nations having such a dominant military? Look, this is kind of the Jack Fresco thinking of nobody is safe unless everybody is safe. If you're going to make deals saying, let's not put nuclear weapons in space, can we also make deals for other things? The problem here is that you have a capitalistic system that breeds competition. At least one of the problems. And within the context of that competition, nobody is going to give up their competitive edge. That competitive edge, worst come to worst, can be enforced through military might. All of this stuff of capitalism and everything else and playing by the rules is fair game until it gets to a point that it will trespass on the United States being in a dominant position. The military is there for that reason. Nobody is going to give up their competitive edge in this situation. So, even me, I bristle at this notion of turning it over to the UN. By the same token, it's a fair point. If the United Nations is going to enforce international law, do they not need a way to do that? By the same token, there's a secondary question of, do you really want to be under the auspices of something else where your sovereignty, for the most part, is being trespassed on? And by the way, the moment that you do that, Mike Gravel, who I love entirely, so this is not a criticism per se, but you are now subjected to laws of a foreign entity. You've given up the sovereignty of your nation, and I guarantee you that will become a government unto itself. It will accrue power. Look, this thing is not necessarily that the United States is all that inherently evil per se. It's more so the ideology that kind of fuels it. It's not so much that people are bad. You just have a situation where people grow up in a thought process. How do you break that thought process? And it's not just entirely the United States. That's pretty much any country that gets a dominant position on these things. But love Gravel entirely on this. And I think Gravel has a damn good point. And I would love for him to be on that debate stage to make that argument. There's a video that I'm putting here that's a big think by Gravel. And, there's a basic point to say that if you're militaristic, the other countries are also going to have to be militaristic just to ensure that you are not running roughshod over them. The only way you can really turn over your military forces to the United Nations is if you trust that the United Nations is a fair organization and that they will continue to be such, and that your sovereignty as a state won't be necessarily trespassed on. But by definition, if you're turning over your military to the United Nations, your sovereignty is being trespassed on. It's a dicey proposition. I don't know how the world works that out. I don't even know the right answer to that. I don't even know if there is a right answer to it. I suppose the right answer is tantamount to the situation to which you're presented with and whether or not the end result is beneficial. Either way, it's something that needs to be discussed and something that should be talked about. And having Gravel on that debate stage would have been an awesome, awesome way to talk about it, as opposed to having some random, run-of-the-mill, exact same corporate Democrat that is already on that debate stage. God, that angers me like nobody's business. But I'll read it one more time just so you know who's on that debate stage. And if you're just coming here, Gravel was denied despite getting the number of unique donations. He lost in a tiebreaker to Steve, run-of-the-mill, same old Bullock. Michael Bennet, Joe Biden, Cory Booker, Steve Bullock, Pete Buttigieg, Julian Castro, Bill de Blasio, John Delaney, Tulsi Gabbard, Christian Gillibrand, Kamala Harris, John Hickenlooper, Jay Inslee, Amy Klobuchar, Beto O'Rourke, Tim Ryan, Bernie Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Marianne Williamson, Oprah Winfrey's spiritual guru, and Andrew Yang. And by the way, I don't say that as a slight to Williamson. I actually like her. She's one of the people in the race that I think is rather interesting, even though I don't know how you're going to beat Trump with the power of love. But I take her at a fair point. And look, we're jaded on this, but she's right, ultimately. She's right. There's no earnestness in the system. And if I can't trust you, meaning as a Republican, if I can't trust that at the very least you may come at this with a different ideology, but you're working out for the best interest, if I can't trust that, then there's no way for us to have any level of coming together. In my mind, you need to lose. And in your mind, if you're working not necessarily in the best interest of the public, you're working not in the best interest of the public. You're working as some other arbiter. I guess my point is this. Her point is, look, you need to have politics where people are earnest in the way that they're dealing with their affairs. And if the public doesn't believe that you're working in their best interests, then this political project is doomed for failure. The public loses faith in the legitimacy of the government itself, and that is horrendous. I'm reading a book on the Spanish Revolution, and listen to Beaver going through that. You know, I sat here for hours. Like, the thing is like several hours long. But I sat for hours, listened to him talking about anarchists, social democrats. This was back in the 40s, like 1940s, or like 1930s. He's talking about the anarchists. He's talking about Democrats, communists, socialists. All these guys outright in rebellion with one another, even though many of the stuff they would to some degree agree on. Even to the point of the communists saying, join hands to stop the fascists. The fascists are a problem. Join hands to stop the fascists. It is a fascinating book, but it gives you this kind of context of something that was taking place even going back then, where there was a complete loss of faith in the credibility of the government itself. The times are not the same. History, doesn't repeat, it just rhymes per se. All I'm saying is she has a damn good point, even though I have no idea how that works in practice. That's a Jack Fresco world. That's not where we are. Nevertheless, Mike Gravel, the guy who, if nothing, should have been on that debate stage, will not be on that debate stage. I'll leave it here. If you like the video, please hit like. Please share. Thanks all. Bye-bye.